The building of warehouses was a great success. We stored grain. Man, I cannot tell you how many buildings there were. And we packed everything away. During the second year of the drought, people stopped coming, buying food. One day, I recognized 9 of the people coming there, and I look at the 10th one, and guess what? It was Benjamin. Now, I want you to try and experience what I experienced. You know, we've got certain levels of emotional fondness for people. When you look at somebody, you feel this way and that. He was my blood brother. Same father, same mother. I helped rear him when my mother died. So there was a strong bond. And here I see Benjamin. I recognized him, but he did not recognize me. So I told the steward to invite them to my house. A beautiful place that I've built there. And I told him, put them in sequence, chronological, the oldest to the youngest, and Benjamin was the 11th one. In the meantime, I got Simeon out of jail. So here we have a situation where you've got 12 brothers. And I'm the only one that recognizes 11 of them. They don't recognize me. On purpose, I made Benjamin's food stand out like a pyramid, huge, just to see how my brothers would react. But you know, they were kind. I could see a difference. I was so happy. But there was one more test. I had to test them. So what I did, I said to the steward, put all their money back into their bags and take my cup, the cup from which I drink, the silver one, and put it in Benjamin's bag. So the 11 brothers left. They were happy. Simeon was back with them. But you know, tragedy strikes without notice. So the steward caught up with them and said, stop, 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 stop. One of you stole my master's silver cup. They said, no ways, no ways. If you find that cup in one of these bags, that person would die and we'll be your servants for life, your slaves for life. With drooping heads, body language, it was down, down, down. They came to the governor of Egypt. They said, why do you do a thing like this? Why did you steal my cup? It's very precious to me. And they said, we didn't do it. We don't know how it got into Benjamin's bag. They were protecting him. They sold me, but they were protecting Benjamin. So I could see there was a difference. Now, Levi, one of the 12, had a daughter by the name of Jochebed. Jochebed had a son called Moses, and she related the incident to Moses, and he wrote this in a book called Genesis. So if you can get hold of the book Genesis, please read that speech. Man, Shakespeare couldn't get near to this type of writing. So I'll just give you a synopsis. He explained to me, Your Majesty, you asked us how many brothers we are, and we said 12. One is dead, the other one is with the father. And you said, please bring your youngest brother here. We did that. Our father was very sad when Benjamin left him. If I have to go back to my father Jacob and tell him what happened, this would cause his death. We will bury my dad. I can see it. please, Your Majesty, let me be your slave instead of Benjamin, but let Benjamin go back to his father. You know, at this stage, everything inside of me just broke. I've never had so much grief in my life. This was the greatest moment of reconciliation I've ever experienced. I said to them in Hebrew, no longer talking through an interpreter, I am your brother Joseph. Come to me. You've sold me. But God was in this entire curse. And because of what you've done, we will not starve by starvation. So please don't feel bad. Isn't this a kind way of speaking to your enemies? And then I called them to come close to me. What an attitude. Calling your enemies to come close to you. To do what? And then I started with Benjamin. He looked in my eyes and I looked into his eyes. We couldn't speak, but we could weep. We embraced each other. I said, you know, Benjamin, for 22 years I missed you. I'm so glad I see you. And then I went to all of my brothers and kissed them and hugged them. The greatest culprit among them was Simeon, the one that was just released from jail. And I said to Simeon, my brother, I love you. And I hugged him and we wept. And I said to them, now listen. We've had 2 years of drought. There's another 5 years. I want you to go back to your father and my father and tell him what you've seen. My wealth, my power, my position. And tell him I can look after him. I'm going to give you the best portion of land in Egypt called Goshen. In my language, Tumilat. You will get the best portion of Egypt. And then I told them, I've got 10 donkeys loaded with gifts just for my father. And I could visualize how he would open every gift from his son Joseph, whom he thought was dead. And then I loaded another 10 donkeys with all the food you can think of just for him. But that's not all. I called one of my stewards and I said, present them the clothes I've given you. Now their clothes were tattered, man. They were poor. They were in a mess. And I clothed them with royal robes. You should have seen them. That's not all. During the Hyksos period in which our king fits in, we developed a thing called the wheel and wagons. And for the first time, Egypt saw wagons. My father never saw a wagon. So I said, these wagons, take it to Dad and put all your stuff on these wagons and come to me. Beautiful salvation language. I forgive. Come to me. You know, I could have jailed them all. I could have killed them all. But that's negative. If you want to kill your enemy, you are negative. Don't overcome evil with evil. Overcome evil with good. Smiles by the millions as they left on their wagons and their new clothes with Benjamin with them. And next time I want to tell you what happened when they came with all the stuff to Jacob my father. It is an exciting story. But in closing, I just want to repeat this. somebody has hurt you. You want to retaliate. Don't do it. There's an option. You can overcome evil with good. Joseph is such an example. Don't miss the next episode, which will be the climax of the story of Joseph. Thank you for watching this presentation. To subscribe to our channel, click here, then click the bell to get notifications. For the next presentation, click here. See you next time.